You're listening to the Fezcast, the Saracens fans podcast, bringing you the independent and unhinged views of the voices in our heads, as well as those of our special guests. To get in touch with us, find the Fezcast on social media and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube and more. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy this week's show.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Well, hello. Welcome along to this week's episode of the Fezcast. I'm Barry. I'm in the chair this week. I'm not quite sure how, but everyone else is unavailable, so I've turned to the substitutes bench. Joining me this week is Matt. Matt, how are you doing? Good evening.
I'm all right, Barry. I mean, that's why you're in the chair, because the other person here is me, and nobody wants that. So
Oh, that's exceptionally harsh. Have you dried out from yesterday yet? That's the first
most of the clothing is still sitting on a radiator. Yeah, it was pretty grim yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, for anyone who wasn't at the Stonex on Saturday, the brief highlights on YouTube don't do the weather conditions justice. It was wetter than an otter's pocket in the second half. It really did. It really did come down, and it was blowing underneath the roof of the one stand that was the one stand down the side that was open, the east stand, and everyone was huddled at the top of it, desperately trying to escape it. But we'll come on to that later on. So we're recording this on Sunday night, and England have just about, and I mean just about, closed out a 27-23 win over Argentina to make it 4-0 for England over the course of the autumn internationals. Matt, you haven't seen the game, so I won't ask you to comment too much on it, but that was one heck of a tight finish, and it could really have gone either way. And England really they'll obviously take the result, and they'll take the autumn internationals as a whole. And winning 4, you couldn't have asked them to do much more, but they were certainly hanging on towards the end there, and wasn't really the second half that England were looking for. I don't think, but overall they've got to be happy with 4 wins from 4, haven't they, Matt?
Yeah. I mean, I was watching the score coming on my phone while I was doing other bits, and there did seem to be a bit of a mad 20 minutes where it all started to go a bit wrong, just judging by the scoreline. But yeah, as you say, it was a strange autumn internationals, I think, because I think there are times when England have played really well. There are times that I've seen that we really haven't. But we've come away with 4 victories against 4 pretty good teams, so you can't really argue with it.
No, and obviously, if you look at the other home nations and their results, I mean, Wales has still got 1 game to play, so they could, in theory, finish 2 wins and 2 losses. But unfortunately for them, it's against South Africa, so I don't really think they'll be fancying their chances too much there. Ireland will be disappointed with their defeats and their performances. I wonder if they've given Matt Carley back yet after last night's card fest. The last time I saw that many cards in quick succession, I was in Clinton's in the shopping centre.
Yeah, I think Matt Carley, he won't be back next week because he's still wandering around the pitch picking up all of the cards, isn't he? So
he is, yeah. He certainly. I mean, in fairness to him, once you start going down that road, it's very difficult not to. And they were all for penalties inside the 22 when Ireland were under immense pressure from a South African side that really did play very well. But once you start giving out cards, it's very hard not to continue, isn't it, Matt?
It is, yeah. I mean, it sounds like all of the infringements were in a position where it was pretty cynical. Probably, I don't think I'm offending too many people by saying this, but Ireland South Africa is probably a match between 2 of the more cynical teams at the breakdown. And Matt Carney obviously noticed a few bits going on, and obviously scrums going backwards as well. So, like I say, once he starts giving yellow cards for repeat infringement, if you keep repeating infringements, what is he supposed to do?
Well, yeah. I mean, at one point, I think Ireland were trying to play 7s. They were in danger of having that many people sitting on the sidelines. But it's certainly fair to say that the crowd at the Aviva Stadium were not best impressed with Mr. Carley yesterday, and no doubt he had to be smuggled out of Dublin Airport under a blanket after that match. But yeah, he's probably got the Bath game next week, isn't he? Knowing my luck now, I'm saying all this, and he'll be listening during the week. No, if I'm not careful. But yeah, a successful autumn internationals for England. Great performance today from, I nearly said Steve Ajomo, that's showing my age there, from his son, of course, Max, who got man of the match. A try and a beautiful box kick over to, I nearly called him Feo Wasabi.
We're going to have to now, because that's just what he is on the show.
A beautiful kick over to Feo Wasabi there, and obviously he galloped in for a try, and I thought England played pretty well. Mauro Itoje didn't quite see out the 80 and did have a couple of lengthy treatment spells there, so we hope he's fit for next week. But Ben Earl played well. I thought Theo Dan played quite well when he came on. I mean, he only had 10 minutes or so at the end, but he did try and inject some go forward into England at a time they were struggling, and he put himself about a bit. He's clearly, I think he's suffering with a bit of a loss of form at the moment for Saracens and England, but he's not hiding, is he? He's still getting out there, and he's still putting himself about the pitch, and he's still trying to play his game, Matt.
Yeah. I mean, he plays just as well in the back row as he does at hooker. He's a very good loose player, and I don't think that side of his game has dropped off. It is more his role at hooker where he definitely is struggling a bit. We'll probably talk about lineouts a little bit later on as well. But yeah, the fact that he's still getting some minutes for England, he's around different coaches as well. Hopefully it does iron out some of the problems that seem to be coming into his game a little bit over the last year. But yeah, no, good to see he got some minutes.
Yeah, if I don't think he had to throw in for a line out today for England, which was obviously quite handy. But I think when I've watched him at Saracens, it's almost like he's got a case of, it looks like the yips in golfing terms, because it looks like he doesn't quite want to let go of the ball, and it just looks like a nervous thing. And we obviously hope he can work his way through that. On the subject of hookers, some good news off the back of yesterday. Hami Faiva, the Red Bull's replacement hooker who came on and received lengthy treatment and went off on a stretcher, bringing back some fairly horrible memories for those of us who saw the Worcester game a few years ago. Fortunately, we believe he was up and walking around on Saturday night, so that's good news. And of course, all Saracens fans will wish him a full and speedy recovery.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll touch on the Saracens game later on in the show. But Matt, you wanted to bring us up to date with some gossip, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky to know exactly where to pick up with gossip, because I know we've kind of discussed most of what we've heard over previous weeks, and I think a lot of it is just the same thing rumbling along. As we discussed before the show, Barry, I think we're basically signing 50% of the population of Wales for next season.
Yeah, and George Martin.
Yeah, I mean that was the one probably to bring up. George Martin is sort of the latest certainly in the Neil Fizzler scattergun approach of rugby rumours. But I think, as I quite often say, we tend to get a little bit annoyed when someone like Mr. Fizzler rumours us with a player and then he signs for someone else. So that doesn't mean that we weren't talking to them. It just means that they said no. So there is always going to be some element of truth to all of these rumours, and discussions go on all the time. But George Martin, in theory, we're sort of in pole position at the moment, as it were, to sign him. And I think that's someone that's worth discussing, because on the face of it, he could be the answer to a few problems in that tight head lock position. But he's also got a hell of a lot of injury problems, hasn't he, Barry? So yeah, what do you think about that one?
Well, yeah, I mean, do we need another player who spends a lot of time on the physio's table? We've had a rotten run of luck really recently with a couple of others as well who've come in, and we've really not seen very much of them, and then they've disappeared off to pastures new. But yeah, an exciting player, but as you say, we've got to find a way to keep him fit somehow, and if we can, there is definitely a player there, and he could be very, very useful for us, assuming he signs, of course. I think he was linked with Sale as well, wasn't he? And didn't that?
I think I think there's a few clubs that he's been rumoured. I think Leicester don't sound like they're interested in re-signing him. So But yeah, Sale seems to have fallen away. But I don't know, a partnership between him, Maratoji, and Hughes are coming off the bench or another. It's not a terrible option, but yeah, I'm a little bit concerned about his injury. We always, like you say, we always pick up injury prone players and then wonder why they don't play for us. So, but at the end of the day, he's an England international as well. So when he plays, can't be bad.
No, absolutely. You do wonder as well if Nick Ezekwe fits into all that. Is his contract's up at the end of this year, if I remember correctly, isn't it?
I think he might be one of them. To be honest, I think a lot of it is more in the back row where we are. And there's a few players that either need to re-sign or disappear. And Theo McFarland is another one of those lock/6 players who, in theory, has a new contract to sign on the table if we're interested in re-signing him. And you do wonder. But yeah, George Martin, I think he's 24, maybe 25. So, he's got plenty of mileage left in him if we can sort out his injuries. So, yeah, I do wonder whether we might lose a fairly big name from the squad if he does come in. And we'll have to wait and see. But
yeah, I mean, you would imagine with contracts the way they are and some clubs being a little bit more cautious with wages these days, you do wonder if there's going to be a bigger churn going forward. I don't think Bath can fit any more people in the flipping city, let alone in their actual squad. But yeah, I mean, other clubs are looking to do business. We saw, I think, spotted at the Stonex on Saturday was one Liam Williams warming up for Newcastle Red Bulls. If my spies are correct, I didn't actually see him myself, but yeah, I mean, they'll obviously be in the market for anyone and everyone, depending on how much Red Bull want to spend.
Yeah,
going forward.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Hello, this is Akina Gondwe of Saracens Women, and you're listening to the Fezcast, and we are both proudly sponsored by the Saracens Supporters Association. For a £10 annual subscription to the SSA, you'll get the chance to buy tickets for away matches, receive a regular newsletter, and an exclusive SSA badge. They also arrange pre-match gatherings and player-coach events. As well as sponsoring both me and the Fezcast, they also sponsor Louis Johnson from the men's team and the Saracens Foundation Track Club. Not bad for £10. You can join up at membermojo.co.uk/SSA. Enjoy the rest of this edition of the Fezcast, and I look forward to seeing you at StoneX. Come on, you Sarries.
This is the Fezcast.
Yeah, let's get on to the Saracens game on Saturday. Pretty comprehensive result, pretty comprehensive performance, with the exception of lineouts, which we'll come on to. But it was rather a limited Newcastle team, wasn't it, Matt?
It was, yeah. I mean, I looked at their sort of list of unavailable players, and it's quite hefty. And with a team with the resources that Newcastle having a lot of your main first team out and playing in the Prem Cup, that was always going to be a bit of a scratch team. And there were a couple of their players out there who looked, we've played in years gone by. We've played series of Prem Cup fixtures with our 18-year-olds straight out of the academy and looked. We've not looked very good at all, and there were 2, 3, 4 Newcastle players who I was looking at and going, that they're not cut out for Prem Cup level, let alone playing in the Premiership, unfortunately. Which it might be a bit unfair, but it just wasn't working for a few of them. Liam Williams himself is coming back from injury. They've got a lot of back three players out, and I think they were missing a few in the back row as well. So it's understandable, but.
Yeah, but I mean, you can only play what's in front of you, and I think Saracens made a pretty good job of that. The pack were very dominant. Great couple of performances in the locks as well. We've obviously touched on it a little bit, but it's a player I mentioned before, and I'm going to have all sorts of trouble pronouncing him. Teo Adebele.
This is why the rest of the guys didn't want to come on this week, because they knew we'd be talking about him.
Yeah, I should have stuck to talking about Charlie West. I can manage that one. But yeah. He had a heck of a game, didn't he? And scored a great try. Great turn of foot. I'm pretty sure I saw him play at the beginning of last season in the friendly up at Bedford. I'm sure he was the one who I remember thinking, crikey, he's going to take some stopping. And he's lightning quick, isn't he?
He is, yeah. And I must have, I thought he was, when I've seen him before, just sort of walking around, I thought, yeah, he's massive. But he spent an awful lot of Saturday standing next to Olamide Shadeki, who is a giant. So he actually look quite small by comparison. But yeah, he's a big unit, big broad shoulders. And yeah, another one of those players who I think is just as capable of playing six as he is at lock. And he scored a good try, put himself around the pitch. Quite a key figure in defence as well. So yeah, he had a fantastic game, and I've managed to do all of that without trying to pronounce his name myself. So.
Yeah, well, we'll just stick to calling him Teo.
Yeah, I tell you, if you are listening, massive apologies. Let us know how to pronounce your surname. We'll give it our best shot.
Yeah, come and have a chat with us and give us some elocution lessons at the same time. But Charlie Bracken as well, I thought played well. How did you rate the backs, Matt?
Yeah, Charlie Bracken, we were looking at him last year and thinking he needed more minutes and needed to get in the game. And he's certainly become second choice rather than third choice. And I think, yeah, we saw a lot of him in last year's fixtures to sort of go, yeah, he's got something about him, but he's not dictating a game yet. Whereas I think, yeah, this weekend, Charlie was setting the pace in the game. And that's not the first time this season I've seen that, but definitely an extension of his game from last year. See, I thought him and Louis Johnson in fits and spurts, to be honest, but I thought both of them were fantastic, really, over a period as a 9 and 10 combo.
Yeah, you kind of feel that again, Louis is a player who could do with a run of games, don't you? I mean, I know he's been at Ampthill a couple of times, and he's played a few matches for them, and he's been in the Prem Cup side, but it's difficult in stops and starts, and I think this is something I mentioned before. We miss not having an A League or a reserve league, whatever we're going to call it, and having those regular competitive games against other sides. Youngsters, it's going to be their youngsters, obviously, but I think we miss that, and there's a big gap in between the academy stuff and the first team. But one man who's obviously bridged that gap with aplomb this season has been Noah, who came on for his little 10-15 minute cameo at the back end on Saturday. And again, every time the kick goes up and he goes chasing it, you can feel the excitement in the crowd building. And I hope it doesn't ruin him to the point where he starts to get big for his boots, as it were. But he's one hell of a talent, isn't he?
He is, yeah. And do you know what? I was going to say a similar thing, because there was a couple of times I thought, yeah, he's just trying to run around everyone here, when actually there's an easy pass on his left shoulder that could keep him move going. So, but when he is perfectly capable of running through an entire team, you can't really fault him for trying at the moment. But yeah, he was fantastic when he came in. But I think actually it was just as important to see the likes of certainly Angus Hall, who, you know, it was putting his hand up and saying, well, hang on a minute, I'm here as well. And I'm also pretty good. and Brandon Jackson played well on the other wing as well. So, you know, we did pretty well. And again, just to complete the set, Luke Davison making his first senior start at 19 or whatever it is at fullback, which I think is not necessarily his first position. I think he is more of a fly half. He was pretty lively as well. So quite what we're feeding our back three players at the moment. I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was impressed with Luke as well. He's not really a player I'm that familiar with, to be quite honest with you. But
no, he was an odd signing in a way. I mean, he rather than sort of coming through the Saracens under 18s and things full stop, he was kind of plucked out of the South African school system and then played half an under 18 season, and is now part of our academy. So yeah, it's a little bit of an unusual route.
Yeah, but he certainly looked good on Saturday. He wasn't. I mean, he didn't have an awful lot of defensive work to do, because unfortunately Red Bulls weren't really able to give us an awful lot of, give our back three an awful lot of defensive work, because they didn't see an awful lot of the ball. I mean, second half I was sat down at their end trying to dodge the rain, and I don't think the ball came into our 22 once in the second half. And if it did, I certainly blanked it from my memory. But yeah, the one thing we did struggle in is the line out, though, and we have sort of mentioned it a couple of times. It's really difficult, isn't it, with a line out, where to look, because there's so many moving parts and they all have to move in synchronicity for a line out to be successful. But we overthrew one by quite by quite a distance on Saturday, and we just seemed to struggle, which was a bit odd for a side built of giants, wasn't it?
Mm. I mean, one thing actually to pop up is Samson Adeyemi coming off the bench. I think that's his first Saracens game in over 2 years for various reasons, most of which are injury. So, congratulations to him for even getting back. And not going to put all the blame on him, replacement hooker, for the line out not working. Although there was one of the line outs late on in the game that we did win, but it was absolutely launched at the groin of the of the catcher rather than into his hands. But it wasn't really going fantastically with either hooker on the pitch, which does make you think that perhaps it's more of a timing issue with lifters and jumpers. And I don't know that we had. When you have someone like Nick Ezekwe, Maro Itoje, etc. on the pitch, you've got good line out operators and callers there. Where we had Harry Wilson captaining the team in the second row, he's not your primary jumper in a line out, and Shadike is a big fella and probably quite difficult to lift. We haven't got that sort of slight lock that you stick up in the air all the time, so. Maybe it was just about options that weren't quite working there. But the line out was by a long, long way the negative of the day. But to be honest, we didn't really need it that much. And actually, if you look at the highlights package, the line outs that we did win, we scored from. So,
absolutely. It was noticeable as well that Newcastle had a jumper at the front who was just making a complete and utter nuisance of himself. And we seem to just throw it to him most of the time. So, but never mind. It's good to have something to work on. Now, despite what the BBC have tried to tell us last night, we haven't yet qualified for the playoffs.
Yeah.
But I believe we're currently in second, albeit we're a country mile behind. Is it Leicester, I think, isn't it?
It is Leicester at the top of it, yeah.
Yeah. So is it 2 from each group that go through into a sort of semi-final?
Yeah. Top two from each group. It's two groups, 4 teams in the semi-final. So I mean the way, I can't remember the exact point, but it was, although the BBC tried to say we'd qualified even though we were only halfway through, but it was still a bit of a must-win game because Newcastle, although we've said that they were rubbish, they were actually sitting second, having beaten Northampton last week. So if we'd have lost, they'd have
Northampton team that dismantled us in the Prem Cup as well earlier in the season. So
I mean the Prem Cup is odd, isn't it? You get results all over the place, but it was an important win, and that does put us second in a very condensed chasing pack behind Leicester. So it does keep us in the hunt for qualification. Whereas if we'd have lost it, we'd have 6, maybe even 7 points behind Newcastle. So.
So an important win, and let's hope we can make some more progression in it when it starts up again, presumably first week in February for the Six Nations.
Roughly that, is whenever the internationals disappear again. They seem to keep the fixtures and the tables quite well hidden. You have to go hunting around to actually try and find out too much information. It's a bit like this Autumn Nation series, which is part of the whatever they're calling it. Was it the Champions Cup? Oh no. It's the Nations Cup, isn't it? It's the Nations Cup, which is spread over 2 international windows, and don't ask me. I've looked for some information on it, and I believe I can find it, but I will ignore that one for now.
Never mind. Right, well, just the small matter of Bath to look forward to now. That's going to be a challenge, isn't it?
It is, probably a good time to have that challenge. Is that fair? Playing Bath at home straight after some international fixtures, they've got players that have, they've got just as many players that have played internationals as we have, I believe. So, maybe a good time to come up against them when they've got some players that are running in a bit cold.
I mean, we obviously we have to play them at some point, and it may as well be now. But it's going to be. It's not going to define our season, of course, because it's one match, but it's going to set the tone for this little block of fixtures, I think. Because although it's it's very stop-start for the next couple of months with Prem and Europe and all that sort of thing. It's not. We're going to be firmly mid-table if we do lose on Sunday, I think, and we'll be in that sort of chasing pack. Now, there's not a huge amount in the middle section points wise. You could sort of throw a blanket over them, but I think we're going to need to get something out of this game, and it'll be a massive challenge up against a side that are clearly head and shoulders, on paper at least, miles better than anyone else in this league.
Yeah, I think they've lost a game this season, I think, already, but I can't remember who against. But yes, I can see towards the end of the season they'll be probably top. I know Northampton are playing very well in the league as well at the moment, but yeah, like you say, we do need to get something out of this game, and particularly as you said, we've got the European games coming up straight after it. One of which is Clermont at home. We say French teams don't travel. We'll look at the last time we played a French team at home, and then we got to go to South Africa. So there's a bit of we could lose 3 games on the spin there. Not trying to be too negative, but momentum does count for something. So yes, I would like us to at least get a point, 2 points, close loss out of Bath. But we're playing them at home, and we should actually have some confidence that we can beat them. So.
Yeah, we have to go into it with the right mindset. Of course, to finish off that little block of games just before Christmas, we have Exeter as well, who have exceeded expectations, I think, perhaps this season, and currently sit third, one above us, if I remember correctly. But yeah, it's going to be a tricky 4-week run up to the Christmas period now, and as you say, it's important that we go in with the right mindset against Bath and try and get something out of it and go for the win. Obviously, Finn Russell's had a week off this week because he wasn't playing for Scotland against Tonga. Fergus Burke was, and another one who went down for a lengthy bit of treatment at one point, but finished. No, he didn't finish out the game. He did get replaced, but he was able to carry on. So I think hopefully he'll be okay for Saturday. And it was interesting to watch Scotland. I won't say copying Saracens, but it was similar in that a lot of the time the ball was coming out to Tui Peloto, not to Burke, and Burke was sort of standing back as second receiver and going in on a sort of wraparound move. And I suspect we'll see more of that on Saturday with hopefully Owen back at 12 against a very well stacked Bath side. I mean, I'm not sure about Lawrence's injury. He was injured for England today, but I'm not sure if he's due back for next week. But if he's not, they've clearly got a decent replacement in a Jomo. So, yeah, we can't encourage you to buy tickets because the match is sold out, and that'll be nice to see, won't it? A full StoneX Stadium.
Yeah, I think it's the quickest and earliest to have sold out a standard league fixture, which is very encouraging for our aggressive social media and marketing approach of this year. For everyone that's not too happy about it and clutching their pearls a little bit about how we're going about it, I think the proof is in bums on seats, really.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's almost one of those things where it doesn't matter what you say about us because you're talking about us to do it, and that's getting the name out there. And let's be honest, we've tried being nice, and we get that thrown back in our faces in some cases. So if we're going to be criticised, we might as well give them something to criticise us about.
Yeah, I can't really argue with that.
So let's wait and see what the social media team have in store for us next week if we can get the win against Bath. And I think that pretty much, have we covered everything? I think we have this week. Oh, hang on. There was one 3-word review. Let me go and find it. All right, Rue Cayford at Rue Cayford. Back row superb. Well, can't really argue with that. We've mentioned them already, but yeah, hats off to the pack on Saturday. A great performance, and let's hope we see some more of those players in the future.
Yeah, Charlie West actually got player of the match, didn't he? Which I must admit, he obviously did a huge amount of the unseen graft. Because if you'd have asked me, it wouldn't necessarily have been someone that immediately sprang to mind. But I haven't sort of watched some of it back. He was absolutely everywhere.
he's got some great players to learn from at Saracens, really, hasn't he? On that side, and if all of these players, we have got an awful lot of talent coming through, and we still got a significant amount of talent from the previous golden generation, and if they can help each other through this, then I think we will be stronger on the back end of it, pending, of course, half of Wales turning up in the summer. Or not.
We'll see.
Keep an eye on the M4, that's our advice. All right, well, I think that's pretty much a wrap for this week. So, Matt, thanks for your time, and obviously to our listeners, thanks for tuning in, and we hope to see you again very soon.
Hello.
This is the Fezcast.